Hello friends, welcome to the 8th session titled Urban Infrastructure Financing in India. In the previous session, we discussed infrastructure financing structure, demand side and supply side characteristics of infrastructure financing and global infrastructure finances. In this session, we would discuss requirement and gap of urban infrastructure financing, bankability a key challenge, potential sources of funding under the urban infrastructure financing in India. World population as of 2020 is 7.8 billion and its 56%, that is 4.4 billion people live in urban centers across the world. In days to come, it would become overarching. In this backdrop, India also gets guided by the similar trend. In fact, India's population as of September 2020 is estimated at 1.4 billion and its 35%, that is 0.48 billion people live in urban areas. It is forecasted that India will be over 50% urbanized by 2045. The urban centers have a substantial economic role as they contribute about 70% to GDP as per the Barclays report 2014. Urbanization of India is inevitable, and an important feature of Indian urbanization is the increasing concentration of population in large cities and agglomerations. Cities and towns in India got recognition of generators of economic momentum as suggested by the National Commission on Urbanization 1985, and currently they are referred as engines of economic growth. Almost all the Indian towns and cities suffer from serious utilities and services shortages, which greatly reduce their economic potential. Their administrative setup, that is, the urban local bodies, are not geared for the numerous challenges associated with infrastructure. Utilization of urban areas' full potential depends on the urban local body's capacity to provide urban infrastructure on a sustainable basis. Consequently, a substantial amount of investment is needed to remove the backlogs in infrastructure provision and also to augment it for keeping pace with the demand for the same. As per McKinsey Global Institute 2010 report titled India's Urban Awakening, India's annual per capita capital expenditure on urban infrastructure was only $17, while $116 was of China and $391 of United Kingdom. The estimate of investment for next 20 years 2010 to 2030 was $1.2 trillion in capital expenditure. For revamping investment, they proposed one course of around $30 billion annual spending through 2015, enhancing up to $60 billion per year by 2020 and $90 billion annually by 2030. High-powered expert committee in 2011 had estimated urban investment need of rupees 39.2 lakh crore for the period of 2012 to 2031 and new investment needs of an annual amount of 1.1% of GDP by 2032. Having known the requirement and gap for urban infrastructure financing, we would trace the evolution of urban local bodies and central government efforts towards improving the financial status of urban local bodies. National Commission on Urbanization of 1985 in its report in 1988 recognized the serious financial position of urban local bodies and recommended significant increase in plan outlays, had suggested the idea of private financing and imposition of user charges. Rakesh Mohan report of 1996 revamped the prevailing financial system by advocating commercialization of infrastructure through the commodification of urban services, public-private partnership and mobilization of revenue by accessing the capital market. The 8th 5-year plan for the duration 1992 to 97 for the first time had emphasized building cost recovery in the municipal system, and during the 9th 5-year plan for the period 1997 to 2002, urban development programs deviating from state subsidies and guarantees aimed at raising funds from the market and through user fees. To improve the creditworthiness of municipalities, procedures such as escrow and pooled financing were promoted. 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992 conferred legal status to the urban local bodies and specified their functional domain. However, in absence of the corresponding financial provisions, most of the municipalities, especially second and third tier ones, lacked financial autonomy and faced resource constraint to carry out their unfunded mandate. The government's efforts of advocating 74th Constitutional Amendment culminated in the form of the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission of 2005, which pursued urban reforms and brought the cities on a fast track development. Thereafter, Rajiv Awas Yojana of 2009 aimed at creating slum-free India through the provision of incentives for the tenurization of settlements and public-private partnership in affordable housing schemes. Union Budget 2014-15 contained the provision of creating 100 smart cities to further promote the economic competitiveness of the Indian cities. Smart City Mission and Amrut were launched on 25th June 2015. Amrut focused on establishing infrastructure that could ensure adequate, robust sewage networks and water supply system for urban transformation by implementing urban revival projects in 500 municipal cities and towns with 1 lakh and above population. Municipalities till late 2000 did not have systematic and realistic information of its own finances. Hence, the analysis of whatever data was available reflected poor financial health of municipalities in terms of their access to resources and revenue raising capability. Financing urban infrastructure and services is and will be the most alarming challenges in the years to come. The conventional resource base of municipalities typically consists of their own resources, that is tax and non-tax revenues, shared revenues, state grants and loans from state governments and market borrowings. These conventional resources are heavily burdened by the investment required for urban infrastructure. Hence, innovative sources of funds, particularly the long-term capital investment, were explored. Municipal bonds, pooled finance procedures and public-private partnerships are effective and efficient modes of financing urban infrastructure. Without the financial empowerment of municipalities, it is difficult to make them market-oriented and capable of mobilizing resources from the capital market. Infrastructure development challenges for smart cities are as follows. First being availability of master plan. Second being retrofitting of existing city infrastructure. Third, technical constraints of urban local bodies. Fourth being timely clearances. Fifth being dealing with the multi-vendor environment. Sixth being capacity building and skilled manpower. Seventh one being reliability of utilities and services. Eighth and the last but not the least, financial sustainability of urban local bodies. Bankability issues of urban infrastructure projects are lack of functional and physical autonomy of urban local bodies. Second being weak credit ratings of urban local bodies. Third being legal hurdles for monetizing of physical assets based securities and legal hurdles of banks to recover defaulted loans in only 90 days. Fourth being high percentage of bad loans wherein Indian banks are reluctant for risk taking. Fifth being reluctance by most urban local bodies to access capital markets owing to strict regulatory requirements. The risk reduction mechanism for urban infrastructure projects are as follows. First being adopting credit enhancement structures such as escrow accounts, non-perpetual, milestone-based guarantee support, payment security mechanisms. Second being viability gap funding. Third being hybrid annuity models. Fourth being development of municipal bond market with built-in credit enhancements. Fifth being integrated planning and development approach. Sixth being potential sources of funding urban infrastructure projects. Seventh being additional devolution of funds from center to states under the 14th Finance Commission. Eighth being funding available from multilateral and bilateral agencies like WB, ADB, AIIB, USAID, KFW. Ninth being National Investment and Infrastructure Fund with committed capital of USD 6 billion. AIIB recently committed USD 200 million to National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. 10th being convergence of funds from various government schemes like Smart City Mission, Amrut, etc. 11th being vast and long-term capital of pension funds, insurance funds and sovereign wealth funds. 12th being capital recycling through monetization of brownfield or operating projects and land value capture. 13th, the last one being mandatory CSR spends of profitable organizations on mutually beneficial basis. With this we come to an end of session 8.